They threw him in a pit. Not metaphorically, not emotionally. They grabbed him, ripped the coat off his back, and dropped him into a dry cistern in the ground, and then sat down and ate lunch, while he was screaming. And here's the part that'll stop you cold. God watched that happen, and didn't stop it. Now if that bothers you, good. It should. Because what I'm about to show you in the story of Joseph is not the sanitized Sunday school version. This is the raw, uncomfortable, deeply personal story of a man who had every right in the world to be offended, and what God did to him because of it. Not in spite of it, because of it. Here's the question I want you to sit with for the next few minutes. What if the thing that hurt you most, the betrayal, the lie, the person who got away with it, what if God is using that right now in a way you can't see yet? Stay with me, because by the time we get to minute 9 of this video, you're going to see a moment in Joseph's story that will completely reframe how you think about the people who wronged you. But first, we need to go back to that pit. Joseph is 17 years old. Let that land. 17. He's not a seasoned warrior. He's not a man who's been through fire before. He is a teenager, and he is his father's favorite, and everybody knows it. Now here's something most people skip over when they read this story. Joseph's brothers didn't wake up one morning and decide to hate him. This offense had been building. Genesis 37 tells us they couldn't speak peaceably to him. The Hebrew there is interesting. It literally means they couldn't manage a shalom with him. There was no peace in the room when Joseph walked in. He'd brought bad reports about them to their father. Jacob had given him that famous coat. Historians debate what it actually was, but the point is clear. It was a public declaration that Joseph was different, elevated, set apart. And then Joseph, and I say this with love, Joseph did not help himself. He had 2 dreams. Both said the same thing. Everyone around him would bow down to him. His brothers, his parents, all of them. And he told them, both times, now stop. Before you judge him, ask yourself this. Have you ever felt something so strongly, something you were so sure God put in your heart, that you said it out loud at the exact wrong moment, to the exact wrong person?
Drop your answer in the comments right now, because this is where Joseph's story becomes your story.
So his brothers are out in the fields near Dothan. Their father sends Joseph to check on them. And when they see him coming from a distance, before he even arrives, they start plotting. Here comes the dreamer. They say, let's kill him and throw him in one of the pits. One brother, Reuben, pushes back. Don't shed blood. Throw him in the pit, but don't kill him. His plan, we find out later, was to come back and rescue Joseph quietly. Good intentions. Didn't follow through. Doesn't that sound familiar too? So Joseph arrives. They grab him. The coat, that coat that represented everything, gets torn off him, and they drop him in. He's down there. It's dry. Genesis tells us that specifically, there's no water, but that doesn't mean it's safe. It's dark. It's probably cold at night in that region. And from the bottom of that pit, if Joseph looked up, all he could see was a circle of sky, and his brothers, sitting around the edge, eating. And then a caravan passes by, traders headed to Egypt. And Judah, another brother, gets a different idea. What do we gain if we kill him? Let's sell him. 20 pieces of silver. That is the price they put on their brother's life. Here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. When Joseph left that pit, he didn't leave as a free man. He left as property. He left in chains, headed to a country where he didn't speak the language, where he knew no one, where everything, his father had poured into him, the dreams, the coat, the favor, all of it looked like a lie. And God was quiet. In part 2, I'm going to show you what God was actually doing during that silence. Because this is where most people misread the story entirely. 13 years pass between the pit and the palace. I want you to feel the weight of that number. 13 years. Joseph is sold into slavery in Egypt at 17. He doesn't stand before Pharaoh until he is 30. 13 years of silence from heaven. Or was it? Here's the thing that most people miss when they study Joseph. They jump straight from the pit to the palace and say, see, God worked it out. But they skip the middle. And the middle is where you live. The middle is where most of us are right now. Let me walk you through what those 13 years actually looked like. Joseph gets sold to a man named Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard. High-ranking, influential household. And Genesis 39 says something remarkable. It says the Lord was with Joseph. Not after the trial, not at the end of the chapter. Right there, in the middle of slavery. The Lord was with Joseph. Joseph works hard. He doesn't throw a pity party. He doesn't spend every night rehearsing what his brothers did to him. Or if he does, he doesn't let it stop him from working. He rises. Potiphar notices. He puts Joseph in charge of everything. And then Potiphar's wife makes her move. She wants Joseph. Joseph says no, emphatically, repeatedly no. And one day she grabs his garment. He runs, and she uses that garment as evidence that he came after her. A second betrayal, this time from someone who had no reason to destroy him, except wounded pride. Joseph gets thrown in prison. Now here's what I need you to catch. 2 times now, a piece of clothing has been used against Joseph. The coat his brothers took. The garment Potiphar's wife grabbed. Both times, fabric became a weapon. Both times, the physical evidence made him look guilty when he was innocent. Can you imagine carrying that? Being the most innocent person in the room and having no way to prove it? But watch Genesis 39 again, because it repeats the same phrase. Joseph is in prison now, and the text says, "But the Lord was with Joseph." Same words, new location, worse circumstances. And again, Joseph rises. The prison warden puts him in charge of the other prisoners. Then 2 of Pharaoh's servants land in prison, his cupbearer and his baker. Both have dreams. Joseph interprets them correctly. The cupbearer will be restored. The baker will be executed. Both happen exactly as Joseph said. And Joseph asks the cupbearer for one thing. "Remember me. Mention me to Pharaoh." The cupbearer forgot for 2 full years. Now stop right here, because this is the moment I need you to feel. Joseph is not sitting in a pit anymore. He's not in chains on a caravan. He has done everything right. He has served faithfully. He has used his gifts. He asked for help through the right channels. And the one person who could have opened a door forgot his name. 3 betrayals. Brothers, boss's wife, the man he helped. Here's the question. How do you stay unbroken through that? Because in about 2 minutes I'm going to show you the answer, and it's not what you think. 2 years later, Pharaoh has a dream. Actually 2 dreams. Both disturbing. None of his magicians can interpret them. And suddenly, the cupbearer remembers. I know a man. Joseph gets pulled out of prison. He shaves, changes his clothes. Another garment moment. Watch the pattern, and stands before the most powerful man in the known world. Pharaoh tells him the dreams. Joseph interprets them. 7 years of abundance. 7 years of famine. And then Joseph does something that surprises even Pharaoh. He doesn't just interpret. He advises. He lays out an entire economic strategy for how Egypt can survive what's coming. And Pharaoh looks at his officials and says something remarkable. Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom the Spirit of God is? Pharaoh, a pagan king, recognizing the Spirit of God in a Hebrew slave. Joseph goes from prison to second in command of Egypt in a single day. He is 30 years old. Now here's what nobody tells you about this moment. And this is the part that should wreck you a little. Joseph could not have been trusted with that position without the 13 years. The pit taught him what it felt like to have everything stripped away, so power wouldn't corrupt him. Potiphar's house taught him how to run someone else's household with excellence. Prison taught him how to lead people who had lost hope. The forgotten promise from the cupbearer taught him that human memory is unreliable, so he'd learned to depend on something else. Every wound, every delay, every betrayal was a classroom. And now the famine comes, just like Joseph said, and people from every nation start coming to Egypt for grain, including, you already know where this is going, 10 men from Canaan. His brothers. They don't recognize him. Of course they don't. He's Egyptian royalty now. 22 years have passed. He's dressed differently. He speaks differently. He carries himself differently. But Joseph recognizes them immediately. Genesis 42 says, he recognized them but pretended to be a stranger. Now here is the most misread moment in this entire story. People read this and think Joseph is playing games with them. He tests them. He hides his identity. He puts them through the ringer before he reveals himself. And some people read that as cruelty or manipulation. But I think something else entirely is happening. And this is the twist I promised you at the beginning. Joseph wasn't withholding forgiveness. He was checking whether transformation had happened. There's a massive difference. He needed to know, were they the same men who threw him in a pit? Or had 22 years of consequence and time changed something in them? Because forgiving someone and trusting someone again are not the same transaction. You can forgive fully and still be wise about restoration. But here's where it gets deeply personal for you and me. Genesis 42 verse 24. After Joseph hears them talking among themselves, after they don't know he can understand them, after they start saying, "We are being punished because of what we did to our brother," the text says, he turned away from them and wept. He wept. This man who had every reason to be cold, who had been betrayed 3 separate times, who had sat in a pit and a prison, turned away so they wouldn't see his face and wept. Offense had not hardened him. That is the miracle of this story. I want to stop the story for just a moment because I need to talk directly to you. If you've ever been genuinely wronged, not misunderstood, not oversensitive, but genuinely wronged by a family member, a friend, a church, a spouse, someone who was supposed to protect you, then you know exactly what Joseph's pit felt like. And the thing nobody wants to say out loud is this: sometimes staying offended feels like the only power you have left. Because if you let go of the offense, it feels like you're letting them off the hook, like you're saying what they did was okay, like the 20 pieces of silver were worth it after all. But here's what Joseph's story shows us. Offense doesn't punish the person who wronged you. It punishes you. Joseph's brothers went home after selling him. They went back to their father, showed him that coat covered in goat's blood, let Jacob think his son was dead, and they lived their lives. The offense sat in Joseph, not them. And if Joseph had let that offense calcify, if he'd spent those 13 years rehearsing the injustice, feeding the bitterness, plotting revenge, here's what would have happened. The moment Potiphar gave him responsibility, he would have used it selfishly. The moment he had access to the prison warden's trust, he would have leveraged it. And the moment he stood before Pharaoh, the moment that required clear eyes and a generous heart, he would have failed. Bitterness would have disqualified him from his own destiny. And here's the part that really gets me. Genesis 41 verse 51. When Joseph names his firstborn son, he names him Manasseh. The name means, God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's house. He's not saying he literally forgot. He's saying God did something in him that made the pain lose its grip. That's not denial. That's not stuffing it down. That's not pretending it didn't happen. That is a supernatural work of God in a human heart. And that is what God wants to do in you. Okay, here's where we get practical, because I don't want to leave you with a beautiful story and no handle to grab onto. Number 1, name what happened. Don't minimize it. Joseph never pretends the pit didn't happen. He never glosses over it. When he finally reveals himself to his brothers in Genesis 45, he says, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt." He names it. He doesn't say the misunderstanding or the situation we went through. He says, "You sold me." Real forgiveness doesn't require you to call the wound something smaller than it was. It requires you to call it exactly what it was, and then make a choice about what you do with it. Number 2, let God be the accountant, not you. Romans 12 verse 19. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. The language there is striking, leave room. It's spatial. It means step out of the way. Don't fill the space where God's justice belongs with your own attempts to settle the score. Joseph's brothers got the consequences of their choices. Not from Joseph, from the famine, from years of watching their father grieve, from the guilt that haunted them so long that the moment pressure came, they immediately said, "This is because of what we did to our brother." 22 years later, still guilty. You don't have to make sure they pay. Someone else is keeping those books. Number 3, stay soft. This is the hardest one. Joseph wept multiple times throughout this story. He wept when he heard his brothers feeling guilty. He wept when he saw his younger brother Benjamin. He wept when he finally revealed himself. He wept when his father arrived in Egypt. The man who had the most reason to be stone cold remained movable. He stayed tender. That is not weakness. That is the most difficult form of strength I know. To go through what Joseph went through and come out on the other side still able to cry, still able to feel, still able to say to the men who sold you, "Don't be distressed. God sent me ahead of you." God sent me, not your brothers, God. That reframe, that single reframe, is what made Joseph free. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. I want to read you something. After Jacob dies, after all of this, Joseph's brothers get scared again. They think, now that father is gone, Joseph is going to finally make us pay. They send him a message. They beg for forgiveness again. They offer to be his slaves. And Joseph's response is one of the most generous moments in all of Scripture. Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? He doesn't say, I already forgave you. He doesn't say, don't worry about it. He says, am I in the place of God? He has so thoroughly stepped out of the role of judge, so completely handed that position back to heaven, that vengeance doesn't even feel like an option anymore. And then he says the thing, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The same event, two intentions, one human, one divine. And Joseph, somehow, learned to hold both of those truths in his hands at the same time, not pretending the human intention wasn't real, not excusing it, but expanding his vision wide enough to see that God was writing a larger sentence, and what his brothers meant as a period, end of story, drop him in the pit and let him rot, God meant as a comma. Just a comma. So if you're in the pit today, if you're in the 13-year silence, if you're in the prison where the person who was supposed to remember you forgot, I want to tell you what Joseph's story tells us. God is not absent from your pit. He is present in it. He is doing something in the dark that you cannot see yet. And the wound that feels like it's ending your story, He's using it as a classroom. Stay soft. Name what happened. Let God be the accountant. And watch what He does with the comma. If something in this video sat with you, if the pit feels familiar, if you recognized yourself somewhere in Joseph's 13 years, there's a whole community of people right here on this channel asking the same questions about the same ancient stories. We're not in a hurry here. We're just trying to read these things honestly. If that's the kind of place you've been looking for, the subscribe button is right there. No pressure, just an open door. And drop a comment below. Which part of Joseph's story hit closest to home for you? I read every single one.